Okay, we are live now.
Thank you.
So can you tell everyone who you are?
My name is Kelly Sutton, MD.
Okay, and what kind of a doctor are you?
I've done medical practice for 50 years, mostly family practice based on a background in internal medicine and then pediatrics, and I've gone into integrative medicine.
And so can you tell everyone your stories? I know it's quite a long one, but if you could just tell everybody so we could catch them up to where we are.
So just briefly, I was practicing in California starting in 2005, and around 2011 there was a push by Senator Pan, who's a pediatrician and at that time was a state senator, to control how people were able to give their children an exemption from vaccines. So the first step was a bill brought to the legislature in California in 2011 that said no parent can sign a personal beliefs exemption saying my child will not get one or more vaccines unless they get counseled by a doctor or a school nurse. And so it didn't seem to me that doctors should be taking part in evaluating people's religion or beliefs, and that was not an appropriate role for a physician. But the bill passed, and then in 2015, a more stringent bill passed called SB 277 that said there are only medical exemptions allowed for any child who does not want to take their school vaccines, and parents must get a medical exemption from a doctor. So this was written in the law as being very broad discretion for the doctor, and many parents came to the Capitol and protested, thousands, day after day, but nonetheless this passed. In retrospect, it was found that some of the statistics brought to the California legislature were falsified, and so the legislators thought literally that if they didn't pass this bill, people would die because there would be so many exemptions and so many outbreaks that they had to pass this law. So soon a group of doctors found one another called Physicians for Informed Consent, and we began working together to understand what was this law and what were the reasons that a person might not want to have a vaccine that a physician should back. And in my research of the literature, there was 4 areas in which vaccines caused injury. Those were the vaccine reaction itself, neurologic issues, sometimes in the normal development being delayed, allergy issues, and autoimmune disease. So I began doing vaccine exemptions and stayed in touch with this group as more knowledge came out about how the vaccine exemptions worked and what the literature was saying. Pretty soon there was a lot of stories by Senator Pan in the media saying that greedy doctors were selling vaccine exemptions. And so we started to be getting a bad rap in media, even though we were not giving exemptions for very high appointment charges. That was never brought as a charge against any doctor, against me or any doctor I know of. And simultaneously, but unknown to me at that time, one of the public health doctors created what she called the pilot project, which was to seek all exemptions in all counties in California and review them at the behest of the school officials or staff and give to the medical board and the Department of Public Health the exemptions that they thought were erroneously done. So this put the school nurse or school admissions agent in the role of judging a doctor's judgment and essentially stepping towards practicing medicine without a license. And it is these kind of exemption collection processes that were not done with the parents' permission or the doctor's knowledge, but it began to collect the names of a whole bunch of doctors who were writing exemptions in California. The outcome of this was that a number of doctors got investigated, and I was in that group. In 2019, the California legislature passed a different law that was much stricter than SB 277. Its number was SB 276, and it required the doctor to do a physical exam, get the records from a prior physician, not charge for any exam related to a visit regarding an exemption, and that a doctor could do no more than 4 medical exemptions per year, or they would be automatically investigated. So, and that we had to follow the ACIP guidelines, the American Committee on Immunization Practices. I might have the A wrong, but it's ACIP. And so that was put into law in 2019, and there started to be a number of accusations against doctors who had done exemptions. Universally, we have all been disciplined. I don't think any one of us has gotten by with not being disciplined. And also, to my knowledge, universally, the medical board applied the standard of care from the 2019 law instead of from the 2015 law, even though we were all practicing and writing exemptions in that 2015 on time period to 2019, but not after 2019. No exemptions after 2019. So my license was eventually revoked in California. I did petition it for reconsideration, and the first time it went to the medical board, they denied it in less than 1 business day. That was pretty remarkable because it was over 300 pages of documentation. And so I went to the court and said, please ask the medical board to reconsider this rejection. The judge said that was reasonable, and they did reconsider it, but they still rejected my license, and I had a revoked license as of March of last year, 22. So shortly after that, I got a letter from Massachusetts, where I had moved to, that my license in Massachusetts was going to be investigated based on what happened in California. I did that process in pro per, which means without a formal attorney representing me, and that was very intense. It was very much a learning process, and Massachusetts revoked my license in July of this year, 23. And I have received notice from the state of New York that they will investigate me and accuse me of the same things, and the hearing is October 25th. So I was surprised to hear from New York, because I got that license 41 years ago in 1982, and I never used it. I had gotten it in case I would take a job in New York, which I decided not to take. So I never actively functioned as a physician in New York, and yet they're deciding that I am a threat to their public enough to spend taxpayer money to come after me. So now I have 2 excellent legal lawyer supports in terms of good lawyers in the states of Massachusetts and New York, and I'm seeking and I have some good candidates for my case in California. And this may have relevance for other doctors, and we may have to come as a group, and it may have relevance for parents, because parents and their children have been badly mistreated by the misinterpretation and the use of raw power. Just the other day, a father told me that his 7th grader, who had a federal medical exemption, which was deemed appropriate at one level of the law and was accepted initially in the school, he was then told by the principal, "We're excluding your son." And the father said, "Do you have legal authority to do that?" And the principal said, "No, but we're excluding your son." So this young man, who is bonded with his schoolmates, his sports teams, is being separated from them in an abrupt way. And this story I've heard over and over again. I've also heard nurses tell patients that they must have extra vaccines beyond what's on the schedule. And there has been personal discrimination against the parents and the students in schools if they're not on the schedule that the school deems they should be on. So there's a lot of harshness happening against doctors, against patients, and against families. And I see a lot of issues with parents' rights, especially in the state of California.
Now, how can we help you? This must be costing an absolute fortune.
Yes,
Are you paying for it yourself?
I have paid in California initially, and then I was in pro per in Massachusetts for the initial attack against me. And I have downgraded my lifestyle, and I am paying the attorney in Massachusetts and in New York, but I am not paying in California, and I do need help with that. And I'm very fortunate to have the group Physicians and Patients Reclaiming Medicine working to help me. Their website is www.reclaimingmed.org. And if you put at the end of that /Dr. Sutton, Sutton, they have a page summarizing the story I've told you and including some interviews. There's been an article on me in the Defender, and a couple of years ago the Wall Street Journal interviewed me. So there's a growing awareness of people that myself and doctors like me are not being allowed to be doctors. We're not allowed to do the things that day after day we did face to face with our patients and our families, deciding what is the story, listening carefully, and using scientific information for the good of the patient in front of me. And now we're being told, as Senator Pan said once, that doctors are agents of the state. And that is not medicine. So it's being hijacked, and we have to fight against it, or we literally won't have doctors. We will present ourselves in a doctor's appointment and just be the recipients of whatever has been mandated for this gender, age, locale at this point in time. We'll be told, take this test, take this medicine, and get this lab work. And that's not medicine.
Why? How have we got to this point?
I think it started a long time ago. I didn't know until about a month ago that in 1913, 3 significant institutions were founded: the Federal Reserve, the IRS, and the Federation of State Medical Boards. There's a very good video, I think it's on Rumble, in which Dr. Bruce Dooley, who now practices in New Zealand, is interviewed by a very good journalist in New Zealand, Liz Gunn, I think, about the story of the Federation of State Medical Boards. It's an effort to centralize control of key parts of society so that we, the people, are not free and are very malleable, because the necessities of life are in the hands of the people who have that centralized control.
I mean, I don't want to ask you too many questions that could hurt anything that you're doing, because we need you as doctor. But I just want to say one thing from my observation on the road on this bus and the previous bus is, when people say, is it about depopulation? I used to say, that's too dark for me. But here's what I do know. My son with severe autism will never have children. 1 in 36 boys, like my son Billy. The dead babies that come to this bus every day, the parents to talk about, they will never have children. The people with transverse myelitis or paralysis from the waist down, Guillain-Barré, they will never have children. The Gardasil girls whose ovaries have shut down.
Yeah.
And we can go on and on and on and on. So whatever you say, we have they've congratulations, Bill Gates and whoever it is, you have actually achieved a huge depopulation.
Yeah.
If that's what this is about.
It fits, and I think there is a strong rejection of everything that was given in the order of the world, whether it's how the human body is put together, how nature is put together. We have efforts to change the skies with our geoengineering, change the plants with genetic modified seeds, and to say the body can't handle anything on itself. It's deficient in this vaccine, which will help it make antibodies so you can go forward without fear of common childhood diseases. And that's actually a false impression, because the thing that caused measles and the childhood diseases to increase initially was when everybody got collected in cities and there was no sewers or refrigeration. So as soon as we got horse dung out of the streets, clean water, refrigeration for food, the rate of morbidity and mortality from childhood illness dropped drastically. and then came the vaccines, and it continued to drop, but it didn't even drop any faster after the vaccines came. So what we have been sold is a big Madison Avenue spin story that vaccines have stopped infectious disease, because they didn't. Plumbing stopped infectious disease, and in that sense, plumbers are far more important than doctors. So we have been given an amazing immune system, and if we respect it with our lifestyle, we don't have to walk in fear through the world.
Can we correct the damage that we've done? I mean, Andy Wakefield always says nature, if you give it a chance, will correct itself. But it's going to be an awful hard time getting there because of what we've done.
Yeah. I think there's always that possibility, because I've heard that there are places where things were so polluted they thought it would be 30 years before any fish would come back, and they're back in 10 years. So there's things in nature that we don't understand, and we have to have this huge respect and gratitude for that the system itself is what gives us this stability. And the DNA structure is very stable. It wants to go back to the pattern that holds steady the formation of my body as Kelly Sutton, yours as Polly Tommy, because that's there as a guide to keep us consistent. And it keeps oak trees as oak trees and human beings as human beings. And we just need to give that space to work. We can always apply human intelligence to understand what helps. How do we detox better? Is there a place where something has been attacked, and the use of ivermectin or any kind of healing modality that we want to consider could be of value? And that's what we're meant to do with our human intelligence, is be good observers and apply those things for human benefit.
When people heard that you were going to be on the bus today, there are people at Children's Health Defence, and there are people that we know around the world, really, that wanted me to thank you so much for everything that you've done for them, some of them personally. And so really thank you for just being just a brilliant doctor.
I'm not brilliant, but I try to listen to my patients, and they always teach me. And I'm always inspired with what parents have gone through, just as you have changed your path as a mother by what your son's situation needed and then what the world needed. So we're all inspiring one another, so we keep going in this, so we don't quit. And we keep asking these questions about how can we help. And sometimes the help is uncovering a new valuable food that helps a thing, or it's a way to make community happen. So any of those things is what this is all about. And we have to say deep, deep thanks to the original martyrs who gave the most in not fulfilling their human potential in this lifetime, so that we could see and feel that and respond to it, because it motivates us. And these children and their families are the ones who make us do what we do.
Thank you so much. And once again, just tell people, if you can, viewers, please do help Dr. Kelly Sutton to get through these legal cases. It's vitally important for us all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Could you just tell us where to go again?
Oh, yes. www.reclaimingmed.org/Dr. Sutton.